Hello and welcome on board the National Geographic Explorer for this epic expedition to the Great White Continent, Antarctica. On this expedition, we'll get to explore the islands of the Antarctic Peninsula, both by sea and also on the land. We'll get to make a continental landing and also walk on water on a patch of sea ice in the Weddell Sea. We're going to be playing with penguins. We'll be witnessing spectacular whale displays. And we'll get to see the different seal species that inhabit this beautiful area. We begin our expedition in Ushuaia, the southernmost city in the world. As we cruise through the Beagle Channel, we'll then have to cross the Drake Passage. For many, crossing the Drake is a rite of passage. Our Drake crossing couldn't have been better. We had beautiful sunshine and only 2 to 3 meter swell. Antarctica is an incredibly special place. Most people come down here for penguins, but you'll stay for the ice. As we cruise through the waters of the Antarctic Peninsula, we're going to see every type of iceberg imaginable, from huge tabular icebergs to little bergy bits, growlers, sea ice, and the vast, fast ice and glaciers beyond. I've been incredibly privileged traveling here for the last 10 years, and I've learned that no two expeditions are the same. We have different weather, we go to different places, and every iceberg is unique. I hope you enjoy the next 10 days on board the National Geographic Explorer for this incredible journey to Antarctica.
It is our first morning in Antarctica and we are starting it off with a bang. We are here in front of an iceberg called A57A, a very, very large tabular iceberg, probably the largest iceberg that any of us will ever see in our lives. This iceberg calved off of the Ronne-Filchner ice shelf in 2008. It split off into two separate pieces and we're seeing the larger of the two pieces. And it's since been traveling over 2,000 miles to get to where it is today. It measures 12 nautical miles by 5 nautical miles. And remember, we're only seeing about 1/10 of the iceberg above the water's surface. There's still 90% of this below the surface of the water. So this is a very small part of the actual iceberg that we're able to see. Just a huge mass of ice. And to top it all off, we are getting escorted further south by a slew of marine mammals. We have several humpback whales feeding off the side of the ship. We also have several type B2 killer whales. So what an Antarctic trifecta to start our trip down here.
It's a great start. Seeing an iceberg this size with both killer whales and humpback whales. The first 5 minutes of coming outside our first day in Antarctica, what a treat. I love it.
Welcome to False Bay. So just to orient you a little bit, False Bay extends all the way around us right here. It's a very large bay, several major glaciers coming down into it. This is the south coast of Livingston Island, which is the second largest island in the South Shetland chain. The island is 97% covered with an ice cap. This is a chin strap, and you can really see very clearly how he gets that name. This is the medium-sized brush-tailed penguin. The other two are the Gentoo and the Adelie. Gentoos are the largest, Adelies are the smallest, and so that makes the chin strap the middlest. Nice clean blue ice around them. I really like that. This is a large female leopard seal. Leopard seals are famous in the Antarctic for their diet of penguins, but one interesting thing about them is that they really eat more krill than penguins. But they are also right at the top of that food chain. Almost nothing eats them, maybe occasionally a killer whale. But they are an apex predator, and they are adapted to eat not just krill, but also other seals. They will take particularly crab-eater seal pups. We can see that this leopard seal is a female. Females are bigger than males. She's up on the ice right now to warm up. It seems crazy, doesn't it, to warm up by getting out of the water and lying on a piece of ice. What it's doing is thermoregulating, it's warming up. Isn't she beautiful? So that's a treat to see her so well. And looks like another seal ahead of us. Another leopard, I think. And this seal is a male. There, look at that. 18 inches from top tooth to bottom tooth. Can you imagine that? The mouth opens almost flat. In fact, I've done trips here where we didn't see any leopard seals for a week. But to go out on a Zodiac cruise and find two close to the ship, that's a good day.
We just arrived at our first landing site of this expedition, Palais Island. It's a small volcanic island, only about 1.6 kilometers in diameter, but it offers breeding ground for about 200,000 Adelie penguins. So this morning we will have the opportunity to observe and enjoy this beautiful colony. The Adelie penguin is one of the 3 brush-tailed penguin species that we will see during our expedition. And you can recognize the Adelie penguins because of their completely black head, white belly, and a white ring around their eyes. The Adelie penguins are actually finishing their breeding cycle quite early this year, and we will be seeing a lot of chicks that are molting their chick duvet and obtaining their waterproof adult plumage. And what is funny is that some of the duvet that remains is actually on their head, so they look like little rock stars. Many of the chicks are actually quite dirty because they haven't been to sea yet and washed their feathers. And when the Adelie adults are coming back from sea in order to feed their chick, what they will actually do is call for their chick and then will run away, forcing the chick to follow the parents in order for the parents only to feed their own chick and not another chick.
So many penguins, yes, a lot. There are a lot here, and they're wonderful to see the moms feeding the chicks and up close and personal, and they don't seem to mind. It's pretty spectacular.
It's hard to gather how vast the amount of these penguins are out here. They say there's like 200,000 penguins. There are a lot. Pretty cool. And the smell's not so bad. It's like you get used to it. A little bit behind each ear. It's all good.
So overall, this is a fantastic first landing site. Such a small place, but so much wildlife, so many penguins around. A memorable smell and a great first landing site. It's just perfect.
Penguins are the emblematic bird species in Antarctica. And as we watch them on land waddle, it's easy to think of them as comical and helpless birds. But actually, they have adapted to survive in this very harsh and extreme environment. And they're very tough birds. Some of their adaptations include the very dense and waterproof feathers and the flippers that help them being so agile at sea. And it's something to think about. We humans wouldn't last in this environment for 3 days, whereas these birds survive in this for 10 to 15 years. Imagine what penguins have to go through in 1 year of their life. They have to go out and sea, feed themselves, feed their chicks, and go back and forth in ice-cold water in these really harsh conditions. So while we should, of course, enjoy observing those awesome animals, we should still have a lot of respect for them as well.
This morning, we've landed on Snow Hill Island, long way south into the Weddell Sea. This is a place that's particularly famous for fossils in the Antarctic, and this is the reason that the Swedish Antarctic expedition came here 115 years ago. Here on Snow Hill, the fossils are from marine animals that lived just after the time of the dinosaurs. One more beautiful part of the geology are these basaltic dikes, these fins of rock, which are lava that is pushed up in cracks into the sediments that overlie it.
Also here on Snow Hill Island, we have a great piece of human history. This is the headquarters of the Swedish Antarctic expedition of 1901 to 1904. This hut on Snow Hill Island was prefabricated for the expedition, which was led by Otto Nordenskjöld. He was planning on spending 1 full winter collecting geologic samples and fossils, conducting meteorological research, and exploring over 600 kilometers of uncharted and undiscovered land. The 6 gentlemen who were living in this hut over the winter didn't plan on spending a second winter, but when their ship, the Antarctic, did not return in the spring, they knew they had to start preparing for a second winter. And so they spent the winter of 1902 and 1903 here in this hut. The 6 men and the rest of the expedition were finally rescued at the end of 1903 by a ship sent by Argentina called the Uruguay. The expedition was a great success, and all but 1 member made it back to Argentina to a hero's welcome. And we are very lucky to be here today to be able to see this original hut and see how the men of the 1901 expedition were able to make 2 winters here in relative comfort and safety.
This afternoon we're in Admiralty Sound, where we found a huge piece of sea ice in which to park the ship so that we can get out and walk around. unbelievable.
This is by far the coolest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
This is just so peaceful. It's fabulous.
Hi. Oh, look at that. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes.
Love is in the air. My work here is done.
After an already incredible day, we found a blue whale, the largest animal that's ever lived on this planet. And not only any blue whale, but the Antarctic blue whale, which is the most rare and incredible of the blues that we can see. They were hunted to near extinction. Less than 1% of their population survived after the whaling era. And we're only very slowly getting animals back down here in Antarctica. This was a juvenile individual, and this is only the second time an Antarctic blue has ever been seen on the Nat Geo Explorer here in the Weddell Sea. It was an incredibly rare event. I've got to say, you were all incredibly lucky. That was a super special event for me as a whale researcher, but hopefully for all of you as well. It was a great way to end the day.
Just when you thought it was over, whales for dessert. Multiple species, humpbacks, fin whales. Even a blue whale snuck in between them. And then out in the distance, killer whales. More than we could actually count. And everyone flocked to the bow to get an eyeful of this magnificent moment. And the reason that there's so much bioactivity in the water right now is because of the hour. It's late. The plankton have risen to the surface, ringing the dinner bell for all these marine mammals to lunge feed, to go deep, open those large mouths and fill their gullets with water to capture all that protein.
Absolutely unbelievable. How about you?
Awesome.
You can't tell anybody through pictures what it's like. You have to be here to see it.
You have to be here. Pictures will not tell the whole story.
No, it's so incredible when you see 4 or 5 whales surfacing at the same time.
Oh.
I skipped dessert. I came out here. I skipped dessert for the whales.
Yes.
Totally worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, indescribable.
This is the kind of moment in Antarctica that you don't expect, but when it comes, you're severely overwhelmed. These are the creatures we come down here to see. So take your pick. A very magical moment, worth being out in the cold, worth not being in your bed to experience Antarctica in its fullest degree.
Welcome to Sierva Cove. As you said, it is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. We are all going to overheat. And now we're on the west side of the peninsula of Antarctica. And we're going to explore this incredible bay. That is pretty wonderful. You can see the follicles on the top of the whale. Each one of those little bumps is a single hair follicle. It's not very often that we get to see the tops of the mountains here on the peninsula. On a day like today, you get a beautiful look at how glaciers move. And then you can see very clearly the flow of the ice moving down the glacier like a river. And so when that glacier reaches the water's edge, like all of these are, it will eventually calve off into these lovely icebergs.
Today that would be Irish whiskey, peppermint schnapps, Tia Maria or Frangelico. So do we have any tickets for plain hot chocolate?
Cheers, everybody. I don't even taste the whiskey in it. Oh, see how that magic works?
This week, we've been focusing on the deep waters of Antarctica, down below about 300 feet, where you might not assume that life exists, but it actually turns out that it's much more abundant than what we're seeing at the surface. Our job is to bring the underwater life to the surface to example the rich marine environment of Antarctica to our guests. The waters of the Southern Ocean are some of the coldest on our planet. But because of the upwelling, the deep ocean nutrients that are coming from the bottom, they're also some of the most productive. We have immense plankton blooms here, and that kicks off the food chain, which leads directly up to the whales and all of the life that we are here to see. This is an extreme environment. Not everything can live here. They've had to evolve, they've had to adapt to exist in this freezing cold environment. Because of the extremes of the Southern Ocean, it's really the invertebrates that dominate. It's too cold for many fish species to live here, so it's really the life on the bottom, that which is holding on or moving very slowly along, that is the life that you see the most when you journey underwater here. There's so much life down there and so much color in a way that I don't think we can imagine until we actually see it on screen. And that's why we do what we do.
So we're here at Cove Island and we're getting to experience the biggest Gentoo penguin colony of our expedition with 4,000 breeding couples. And one of the things we'll get to enjoy here are the penguin highways, which are pathways that they use for going from sea to the colony and back. And those pathways are actually established early in the season. And it's an efficient way of walking for them, so they don't have to go through deep snow, but instead use the same pathways all the time. And while it might look comical and funny, the way they're using those pathways, it's actually very, very efficient for them.
This is pretty great, just amazing and stunningly beautiful. The chicks, the grown-ups, and the whole scene. And watching them toddle along is just intriguing.
So it's another beautiful morning here with lots of great activities. Hiking, kayaking, and of course the penguin colonies.
My name is Jamling Tenzing Norgay. I'm the son of late Tenzing Norgay Sherpa who climbed Mount Everest with Sir Edmund Hillary in 1953. And they made it just below the North Pole. One of the greatest things about Lindblad Expeditions, National Geographic, is what they call global perspective guest speakers, and I am one of them. And a lot of the guests that I speak with, most of them have not been to the Himalayas or even seen a glacier up close. They're not able to come to the Himalayas, so I'm here to represent the Himalayas and the people of the Himalayas. And it's nice to share with them my story about the Sherpa culture, about the environment problems that we face back in the Himalayas, which is similar to what we face down here. It's great to be down here in Antarctica. For me, this is my first visit down here. It's a fantastic area, untouched by human beings and only leaving footprints behind. Well, when I look around here, it's a very familiar backdrop. Reminds me of the Himalayas, a lot of big glaciers. I see mountains everywhere. From the sea to peak, you don't see this anywhere else in the world. It's a pretty big rise. I feel tempted to go and climb this thing. But it's so nice to be here. And I'm glad to be part of this organization that helps sustain the ecosystem, which is very important to our planet today. And I'm glad Lindblad and National Geographic are working together with many other organizations around the world to help preserve our pristine environment.
So we're at Useful Island. This is a useful island in the middle of the Gurlash. We're doing a Zodiac cruise, looking for some seals and anything else we can find. And it's a new one for you guys.
Oh, what is it?
That's a crab eater. I found something you haven't seen yet. Oh, there's a Weddell seal around the point. Antarctic fur seals, subadults, they're not full grown. I think these two are males and the one with the lighter colored belly might be a female.
fur seals are a little bit different. They have fur that goes down their foreflippers, whereas a sea lion has a naked foreflipper. And sea lion fur is really, really short. These guys have got beautiful fur, which is why they were hunted, because once you pull the guard hairs out, you're left with this beautiful, soft skin. So they were almost hunted to extinction on South Georgia Island. The population was brought down to somewhere around 100 individuals, and they've come back from that. There's about 4 million now. Oh, that's a third, okay. That's an elephant seal. That, from the looks of it, is a young male. Another interesting thing is that the elephant seal on the right is the deepest diving seal. So the elephant seal can stay underwater, hold its breath for about 2 hours. At around 900 meters, I believe, is the max dive for an elephant seal. So Antarctic fur seal, elephant seal, Waddell, crab eater. There's a chin strap too, just for an added bonus.
Our last morning down in the Antarctic Peninsula, we'll have a chance to visit Port Lockroy on Goudier Island. And Port Lockroy is very significant historically. It was discovered by Charcot in the early 1900s. But the most important thing was that in 1944, they built Port Lockroy. And that was the first British base, so they also labeled it Base A. And we have an opportunity this morning to visit a museum which has a lot of artifacts from the time that the British were here. There are living quarters and working areas and the history of some of the early exploration and inhabiting of Antarctica. And it's a gift shop. So people have an opportunity to do a little retail therapy, send off postcards. There's 70,000 pieces of mail, mostly postcards, which spread out all over the globe. Since this is our last day, it also gives us an opportunity to see the Gentoo penguins. We've visited with Gentoos before, but here they have been studying Gentoos to see what effect people has, and what they found is the penguins don't care. They come and go at will, and it's a great way to end the voyage here in the Antarctic Peninsula.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this remarkable journey to Antarctica on board the National Geographic Explorer. You are now all Antarctic ambassadors, and as you travel home, I hope that you will promote the conservation and stewardship of this last great wilderness. Thank you so much for joining us on this expedition to Antarctica, and we look forward to welcoming you aboard again on another Lindblad National Geographic expedition someday soon.
triple flip. Triple flip. Okay.
Polar, polar, polar. Plunge, plunge, plunge. Get yourself wet and clean off with a sponge.